Hello all. Welcome to the OpenPOWER Virtual Summit 2021. Let me get this set up here. All right. All right, so welcome. So I'm James Kulina. I'm the Executive Director of the OpenPOWER Foundation. I'd like to welcome you all here to the OpenPOWER Summit North America 2021. We got a great day filled with great talks, very interesting, and I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. It's interesting. So this year we've really successfully executed on our long-term strategy for accelerating adoption and development of the OpenPOWER ISA, and really it's the most mature and open and risk-based architecture in the industry. But it's really the foundation has kind of put a priority this year of transitioning from what was historically a license-based approach to a more open source focused community and ecosystem. And I think you see that with actually some of the talks today. It's all about open, it's all about collaboration, it's all about learning. So some of the highlights that we want to touch on today is that we really, as a foundation, we have adopted this open source tooling and processes to really kind of build this vibrant open source hardware ecosystem around OpenPOWER. We actually have our TSC chair later on today providing updates on all those tools that we're using, the processes that we're using, the kind of work groups that we're standing up and have stood up, why we're doing it in the first place, and really it's taken lessons learned from the open source software community and applying that to our own foundation and our own hardware ecosystem. It's not exactly the same because there's certain things that are different with hardware than with software, but we're really pushing forward to make this as most accessible foundation and ecosystem you can approach with developing and adopting OpenPOWER. Some of the other highlights is we actually have helped co-develop end-to-end power-based computer architecture curriculum. This is a talk later on today with Virginia Tech. So we're really proud about that. It's when I was taking EE and taking computer engineering courses, have to flip from different architectures. And now we actually have the ability to go from the early beginnings of learning all the way through more advanced courses, all in the same architecture, which is actually very powerful and very useful, especially for the administrators and teachers and people who are learning it for the first time. So we're really hoping that this will take off and apply to a number of different universities for adoption. We also had manufactured the Microwatt, the CPU. So this is the learning CPU that we had developed basically from a number of software engineers. And we manufactured this with the first fully open process design kit. So as you know, we can talk about open hardware, we can talk about design and how it's freely available. But once you go into the actual manufacturing, that's where things typically have changed to go into the very proprietary solutions. What we're hoping and what we're working towards is opening that up as well. And so the shuttle program that was partnership with Google and Skywater Foundry is really quite unique and something that we really think will expand and grow in the future. Now, this is on an older node, but it's a starting point, and really, I think it can have a very profound impact on how we look at designing and developing and producing new kinds of semiconductors. And then we also created new kinds of work groups. So we call them SIGs, or special integration work groups. We haven't had this before. And one of the major ones that we stood up was the LibreBMC SIG. So this is developing a fully open baseboard management controller. And a number of you know that this is a pretty vital piece of technology in every server out there, and the cloud providers, hyperscalers, you name it, they're all using this extensively. And they want something that's customizable, they want something that's auditable, they want something that's secure. And so having not only the firmware being open source that's running on top of it, such as OpenBMC, but also the silicon itself. And so this is what we're really trying to showcase. And we've gotten a lot of interest and a lot of participation in that group, and we're really excited about that. And then we've established the OpenPOWER Hub and OpenPOWER Hub Working Group. And this is around providing easier access to power systems so that people can actually start porting software. Even though we have a very vibrant ecosystem of software already running on Power, basically most things already run on Power. There are certain things that we people want to try out and new things coming down the pipe. And so providing an easy way for them to get access to Power Service and Power Systems. And these Power Systems from the different providers that we're working with can have GPUs or can have FPGAs in it. So it depends on what you're trying to do, which provider you'll go to and start utilizing. But the goal there is really to make it more accessible and to make sure that the Power is a first-class citizen. So what's next? What are we looking forward to in 2022? So the ISA work group that we stood up, we're driving innovations around domain-specific computing. So this is really what has really pushed open hardware forward, is this whole idea around domain-specific computing and accelerated computing, really to try to get efficiencies in performance or efficiencies in energy. And so the ISA work group is really honing their focus on this for moving into 2022 and trying to drive innovations around that. Our Power Pi work group, we're in the early stages of that and developing the look and feel of what that's going to be. But that project is really around developing a very low cost single board computer that's power based that anybody can actually pick up. Our target is $150 or less. So it's very readily accessible to developers and people who are trying to hack and to really get them acquainted with the Power architecture. And so we're really focusing on the SoC design and then the board design after that, which is significantly easier. And so we welcome contributions. We welcome people to engage in that. Really excited about that project. Got a lot of interest in that as well. And then we really want to expand and enhance the open source tooling support around Power. We are using almost all open source tooling as of today to develop certain initiatives that we have going on already, but it can always be better. It can always be more. And this is something that we really want to put focus on. And this is partnerships with such as the CHIPS Alliance and others around EDA and open EDA tooling and things like that. So it's a very high priority for us to make sure that all the tooling is really very good and Power is well supported. And then increase engagement with the other open source software communities. Even though Power has a very deep and vast software ecosystem, I think what we really need is engagement in terms of representation within these communities for the Power ecosystem to make sure that we are a first-class citizen, to make sure that we are really in the thick of things, and people know what's going on with Power and has an understanding of just how easy it is to get things running on Power, even though most things already are. And with that, so, open source hardware is kind of inevitable, the adoption of it. We see it more and more now from bigger players, proprietary players. They're talking about open. It's just too enticing, the business model around, or the innovation model around open source, and to take advantage of all the great talent that's out there. And I think OpenPOWER is very well positioned to accelerate this adoption. It's the only open architecture that has such a vast and long proven record across pretty much every vertical in every industry. And if you make a compliant core, then you get patent coverage automatically. There's no other open architecture that can claim that. And also that we just have basically software that just runs already. So if you're talking about anything within the CNCF or anything basically from the LF, it pretty much runs already on Power. There could be things that are improved, sure, but by and large, it's well supported. So I think we're in a very good position for adoption of open and adoption of OpenPOWER, and people making those kinds of trade-offs in terms of what technology to adopt and what kind of initiatives they want to stand up. And it can be small initiatives, it could be larger initiatives. I think OpenPOWER is very well positioned to take advantage of everything that it has done and will be doing in the future. And with that, I would like to say a big thanks to our sponsors today. So Google, IBM, Yadro, CHIPS Alliance, Antmicro, OpenCAPI. Without your support, we couldn't put on events like this. So I really appreciate your time and effort in contributing and engaging with the OpenPOWER Foundation and the OpenPOWER community. Just a quick note on Summit Logistics today. So OPF staff will be on hand during the talks to set up the speakers and the host. So if you are speaking today, join the Zoom link and you'll be made co-host where you'll be able to share your screen and present. We also will be using the chat feature within Zoom. So make sure that for participants, if you have questions, please use that. And if you actually have questions or concerns or need help during the day from OPF, we are on our Slack channel in the events channel. If you aren't on OPF Slack already, you can go to our website, openpowerfoundation.org. At the bottom, there's the Slack link. You can join automatically. There's no filtering on that, so you can just join and then go to the events channel and ask questions. And with that, enjoy the summit. I'd like to welcome our next keynote speaker,